Hi, this is Anthony Lighthall. Thank you for joining me today on this podcast entitled From Dreams to Actions, where we talk about business goals, supporting positive energy, and following your dreams. On today's episode, I want to talk about having an emergency fund. Now, I feel this is such an important topic because a lot of people probably don't think about having an emergency fund. They think about saving for that next home, that next car. Their car is probably about to break down anytime soon. Saving, because they're going to start a family or vacations. But a lot of people don't talk about the importance and the power of having an emergency fund. And that's what I want to talk about with you all today on this episode. So let's go ahead and dive into it because I want to also not just the emergency fund, but the effects of that, of having an emergency fund or not having an emergency fund in the time of need. And so basically, as we know, emergencies aren't, um, it's not about if an emergency is going to happen, it's pretty much a matter of time or when that emergency happens. And basically, the question you have to ask yourself is, are you ready for that emergency? Are you financially ready to take on that emergency? And when you think about it, there's so many different situations that happen because, as we know, life throws us curveballs. And sometimes we're ready for those curveballs, sometimes we're not. And the thing is, if you're a homeowner, there's always something going on with a home. The foundation's shifted. You need a hot water tank. You just saw a rodent. You need an exterminator. Plumbing. It's just always something when you are a homeowner. So just using that as an example. Also, you may be on the verge of losing your job. Maybe the employer, told you last week, your job's going to get eliminated in the next month, or maybe they just told you on the spot. Are you financially ready to take that on where you're not having a steady income? I would say, lastly, car repairs. If you're a car owner, there's always something with a car. You need new tires, you need new brakes, you need, get your plugs checked. You need your check engine light came on. Oh no, how much is that going to cost me? So, really, again, are you financially ready and mentally ready to take on that emergency that, uh, as people always say, when it rains, it pours, always a perfect time, it's always something, but if it's always something, are you ready for that? Can you prepare yourself for that? And the question is, yes, you can. And I want to really help, this community, help this audience in regards to this episode on building an emergency fund. And later on, I'll talk about a couple tips, that can definitely help you with that. So basically, when it comes to an emergency fund, think of it as insurance, to protect yourself, to protect your loved ones when you're out of a job or in transition, to protect your home when you need that hot, water tank replaced and everyone can take hot showers and things like that. And the whole point of an emergency fund is eliminating or minimizing disruption, is what it pretty much is doing. Disruption and making sure that you aren't, getting into debt, where you're not getting too stressed out. And a key one is avoiding using credit cards to live on your credit cards. Avoiding credit cards to keep you living or to keep you afloat with your bills. And I understand everyone has different situations. I'm very respectful of that, but there's some people that you're using your credit card or you're going into debt because you feel like there's no other options, or you poorly planned, for situations like this. And you're the audience I want to talk to, and people that probably haven't gone through a traumatic situation financially. Let's make sure that you can kind of avoid that and minimize any of those stressors that may come during that situation. So basically, again, having an emergency fund, it's that insurance is to protect you during that time of when you need those finances and you need it liquid, where you can take it out of your account. So let's go ahead and get into some of the tips that I was kind of thinking of that I use personally that really helped me with building an emergency fund. Just to, certain things like out of sight, out of mind, automatically putting, your direct deposit, splitting your direct deposit from checking and savings. I'm gonna get into all that. So let's go ahead and talk about this first one. Uh, set clear goals for yourself. And what I mean by that is how much would I need for my emergency fund? Or the next one I'm gonna talk about is like creating a budget. What are some of your clear goals that can really help you alleviate some of that stress if something were to happen with your home, with your car, with your family? You have to go to emergency room, your son fell or was playing, baseball and something happened. How do you make sure that you can protect yourself and your family during that time of need financially? So creating that clear budget really is going to help you to understand how much money you need in your emergency fund. Um, in the rule of thumb, and this is different for everyone because people have different lifestyles. People have different things they have to pay for and different necessities. But the rule of thumb is 3 to 6 months of living expenses for your emergency fund. That's a good cushion. And so let me break down an example with that. Let's say, um, you create your budget, which I'll get into on the second tip deeper. But let's say that you calculated and know that you get paid $2,000 a month. So bi-weekly, usually people get paid twice a week. So you get paid $1,000 every 2 weeks. So $2,000 a month. So with your budget, um, when you calculate your budget and let's say it's $1,000 for you to for your necessities and for you to live on, you should be saving 3 to 6 months of that. So $3,000 or up to $6,000 because it's $1,000 per month to make sure if you lost your job, you would be able to continue on and sustain your lifestyle or your necessities throughout that time, throughout that 3 to 6 months. So again, being able to save, that money out of that $2,000 that you make, per month, saving that $1,000 and building up that emergency savings account. So again, 3 to 6 months of living expenses after you do a budget, you know, should help you um, during that time of crisis or that time of being off work or, you know, something that needs to get fixed around the house. Okay. So let's talk about creating the budget. You're kind of doing the setting the goal and the budget almost simultaneously because those kind of go hand in hand with your goals when you have a budget that helps you have clearer goals. So with that budget, you're basically tracking all your expenses, your necessities, basically your lifestyle. So how much is it costing you each month to pretty much just live. Everything from groceries to gas to utilities to mortgage or rent. How much is that costing you each month? And that helps you with that budget. But now, with that budget, you should also look at what are some things you can cut back on if something were to happen where you needed to save more money. So, subscriptions to different streaming services, or maybe you get massages every week, having an expensive gym membership. What are some things that are nice to have, but you can cut back on if you ever needed to in a time of need or temporarily? Hey, I'm paying $200 a month for my gym membership. Let me go ahead and do some workouts outside, or let me, buy some resistance bands and do some workouts, or have a more affordable gym that maybe not has have all the bells and whistles, but this one's only, $50 a month versus the $200 a month. Or maybe those massages I get every week. Yeah, it's good and it's great for probably your overall body if you're working out and things. It's good for health reasons, but maybe just once a month, because I'm paying $50 every time I go in or more. So using that as an example, having that budget will help you to understand, okay, where could I cut back if I ever needed to in the time of need to save more money. I would also say having a budget helps you to understand and also be strategic with your money because I always say make sure each dollar has a job. And what I mean by that is your money, you get paid by your employer, or if you're self-employed, your dollars, your money should have a job. How much are you allocating for groceries? How much are you allocating for your bills? How much are you allocating for that vacation that you're trying to save up to go to in the next 3 months? What's your play money? You have to enjoy yourself because you worked hard. And how much are you saving? So make sure each dollar has a job and you're allocating that. I'm not going to go into the weeds on the financial, tips on how to do that because there's a plethora of information online of people that talk about that. Some people buy envelopes and they, write on the envelope how much this money is for this account, things like that. Or people open up various accounts, savings accounts or checking accounts for different reasons, for their different lifestyle, for different things they want to pay for. Go ahead and do your own research on that. But again, make sure each dollar has a job, because that's you managing your money, not someone else managing your money. And we'll get into that a little bit more towards the end, get a little deeper on some of that advice that I have for you too. So as I mentioned, another tip is opening separate accounts. So as we all know, a lot of people have a checking account. I feel like the checking account is like that main account. There's so much happening. It's like Grand Central Station. It's always in and out. There's always something happening. That's that account where you do your direct deposit, that account where your bills are being paid, where you're using your debit card. Everything happens out of that account. But having a separate account, a savings account, where a lot of times savings accounts, people usually don't pay attention to it. They just put the money in there. Hey, I got an extra $30. Throw it in my savings account. Hey, I make $3,000 a month. My lifestyle is $1,500. Put the rest of that 1,500 into that savings account. And it just kind of builds, and it's one of those things that having that separate account helps you to not dip into those non-emergency accounts, where checking has everything going in there, but you don't really pay too much attention on how much is kind of in that account because everything's just happening, where that savings is like, again, out of sight, out of mind. It's kind of just put away. I'm not going to touch it. So having that separate account can really help. I would suggest looking for like a high yield or high interest savings account. Those are really helpful. You can research those. Different financial institutions have those where you can get some interest on your money. I know it's probably low at this time in 2023, but look at some places where your money can kind of grow. The more money you put in there, the more interest you can get back, and that can just really help you with beefing up your savings as well. Okay. Another thing I would suggest is automate your savings. And the point I'm making here is as I mentioned, this checking account, there's so much going on in the checking account. Money's getting deposited, money's coming out, money's getting played with. It's all of these things where you can automate, or basically there's a couple things here. You can either split your direct deposit where, some of your money, or let's say majority of your money is going into your savings account, and that's, or your checking account, excuse me. That's where your budget comes into place, because now you're budgeting and knowing how much money is getting taken out of your checking, where you can say, okay, I make $3,000 a month, but in that month, 1,500, let's say $1,000 bills come out of this checking account. So make sure you have, let's say I'll put $1,500, an extra 500 just for some cushion, but $1,000 is going to be taken out of this account. Okay, the rest of that 1,500, I'm splitting it, and it's going right into my savings account. So I'm not really paying attention to it. I'm not really seeing it. I'm focused so much on my checking. I have an extra 500, maybe $200 left over just for some play money or just for gas and different things like that. But that 1,500, the rest of that is getting split from my direct deposit and going into my savings. So it's a split direct deposit. So my suggestion to you is, if you ever want to do this with your employer, talk to payroll, talk to your HR department and ask, hey, am I able to split deposit my direct deposit, or split my direct deposit is really the term. How do I split my direct deposit? If they say, oh yeah, you can do that, here's the forms. Any questions, you ask them. That's what they're hired to do. That's what they're there for. So ask, how do you go about splitting your direct deposit, checking, and savings? And sometimes multiple accounts. Maybe you can add up to like 3 accounts. I think 3 to 5 accounts sometimes. But that's really helpful. I personally do that. Now, if your employer says, no, we don't do that, we can only deposit into one account, no sweat. You talk to your financial institution, the bank that you're with, and you ask them or figure out, hey, if I get paid on the 1st and 15th, on the first of every month, how do I withdraw the money out of my checking and do an automatic transfer into my savings? They can definitely do that. That's not going to be a problem. If they say they can't, then you do it automatically. You set a reminder on your calendar. You know, I'm big about calendars and things like that. Set a reminder on your calendar and say, hey, when I get paid, automatically transfer 200, transfer 1,000 into my checking account, or excuse me, savings account. So, three options. Talk to your employer, see how you can do the split direct deposit. Second, if not, talk to your financial institution, see how you can do an automatic transfer into your checking account. If not, then you take it upon yourself and do it manually. Every time you get paid in your checking, you automatically are sending it to your savings. Okay, so three tips, three steps for you in regards to automating your savings. Next thing I want to talk about, actually, I believe it's the last thing here, is windfalls. So if you don't know what a windfall is, the whole point of this section is using your windfalls wisely. If you don't know what a windfall is getting a bonus at the end of the month that honestly you probably didn't expect, but you did a project, you went above and beyond. That employer was like, hey, here's an extra 300, here's an extra 1,000. That's a windfall. Sometimes winning the lottery. I shouldn't say sometimes. Yeah, winning the lottery is a huge windfall. You scratch those lottery tickets, you got a nice $1 million, 2.5 million. That's a windfall. Um, some taxes, for all my Americans, U.S. individuals, we fill out, do the tax returns. Uh, we get it at the end of the year or beginning of the new year. That's a windfall. You get an extra 3,000, get an extra 500, whatever the case. That's a windfall. So the thing is that I want to talk about is using your windfalls wisely. That's a blessing, as I would call it. It's a blessing. So let's use something simple. $500. You got a bonus for $500 at the end of May. Okay. What are you going to do with that $500? Are you going to blow it? Are you going to go to the club? Are you going to spend it on a date? Are you going to, I don't know, buy yourself a toy? Yeah, there's certain things that you should enjoy that. That was a bonus. It's your money, but don't blow all that money. Sometimes just think that money isn't even there and put it into your savings account. Save it towards an emergency fund, which is the premise of this episode. So put that extra $500 just into your emergency fund. It's going to be one less thing that you have to do, or it's going to shave the time off of that 3 to 6 months, if you can recall in the beginning of this, that you should have that emergency fund. So just put it in there. You know, manage those windfalls wisely. It's a blessing. Um, so the thing is that can actually help to boost your emergency fund with you doing that and putting a portion of those funds in there. Another thing I want to talk about with windfalls that goes hand in hand is um, avoid lifestyle creep. What is lifestyle creep, Anthony? Well, let me tell you. Thanks for asking. Lifestyle creep is you're used to making, for the last 2 years, you made $50,000. When you do your budget and you're very smart and strategic with your budget, you notice in a year when you do your calculations, you make $50,000, but you live a $30,000 lifestyle. After paying rent, maybe you don't own a car, you live in a metropolitan area, you take public trans, um, you just buy groceries at an affordable rate, things like that. You live a $3,000 or $30,000 lifestyle off of a $50,000 um, salary. Okay, so you got like a $20,000 buffer, and you probably save, and you just are very strategic and smart with your money. Lifestyle creep means from that 50,000, you're um, looking for a new job, and now this new job is paying you $75,000. So you're like, oh man, an extra 25,000, run that. So you're making an extra $25,000 a year. So you're at $75,000, and you're still on a $30,000 lifestyle, or yeah, $30,000 lifestyle. But now because you're making a little bit more money, you're feeling yourself. So now you're getting those massages. I'm not going to that gym anymore. Let's go to this other gym that's $200 a month. you're starting to go out to eat more instead of cooking like you used to because you enjoy cooking. But now you want to check out these other restaurants. So your lifestyle is slowly creeping. So from that $30,000 lifestyle, now you're probably at a 60,000 or maybe $65,000 lifestyle. When before you weren't like that, but because now you can afford it, you're slowly creeping. And you're not really noticing this because it's a couple dollars here and there in your mind, but those couple dollars actually add up to a couple $100 or maybe a couple $1,000 each month, or throughout 3 to 6 months. And now instead of having that $20,000 buffer, as I said, from $30,000 lifestyle and a $50,000 salary, now you're making $75,000 salary. And let's stick to these numbers of the $65,000 lifestyle each year that you have. So you're only having like that $10,000 margin. That's pretty dangerous, and you're putting yourself in a situation. So be very conscious of lifestyle creep. Hey, if I make more money, I'm still living like I'm broke, basically. Come on now. So if I'm living a $25,000 lifestyle, I could be making 100 grand, and I got $75,000 buffer, and I'm being very smart and strategic with that. Those are windfalls. Those are windfalls. I hope that makes sense to you all, but I really want to share that because I think a lot of that happens to a lot of people. Oh, when I get this promotion, oh, if I can make some more money. It's not really how much money you make, it's how much money you manage. It's how much you save. That's a drop right now, right there. I'm going to say that again. It's not how much money you make, it's about how much money you manage because you need to be managing your money, not your money managing you. So when people get those windfalls or get that promotion or get that bonus or get that new salary, they slowly start to have that lifestyle creep because then they automatically people don't think about, oh, I'm going to make more money. I'm going to save more, or now I can really invest more. No, a lot of people say, I'm making more money. Time to go on Amazon. Time to go and buy what I wanted. Time to go do this. Time to buy that boat. No, you gotta step back. You gotta look at your lifestyle and look at those necessities and stay consistent on that. And that's gonna help you, build that emergency savings and be able to save and also invest wisely to make your money grow for you. This isn't a financial episode, so I'm not going to go deep in the weeds. I definitely could, and I so want to, but I'm not. We're just talking about emergency fund. I'll probably do other podcasts for that, and I'm gonna go deep. So be ready for that. Okay. So let's kind of go ahead and wrap this up here with my conclusion section of this, as you know. Uh, so basically, building an emergency fund, as I said, it's that cushion, it's that protector, it's that insurance. You're pretty much putting together insurance for your finances and having that peace of mind, making sure that you can go ahead and pay for something that gets is breaking down, and it's one less stress. It kind of eliminates the stress. The stress is always there, but it kind of just eliminates it or minimizes it a little bit. Be ready for those curveballs, and you definitely will be when you have a great, strong emergency fund. It's like your emergency fund is that protector, is that person in the front with the shield, with the armor, with the sword, and all the enemies come in and all this stuff bad has happened to you, and you just got this emergency fund that's just blocking all this stuff. So think about it like that. It's your knight in shining armor, okay? Um, don't wait for an emergency to happen in order for you to understand and realize how important an emergency fund is. Because you could be blowing your money on booze, on ladies, on dates, on the bar, buying rounds for people at the club. You could be saving that money. And when something happens and those people aren't around, you're going to have to fend for yourself. You're going to have to survive. So basically, don't wait for an emergency to happen knowing that you could have been saving for this emergency because it is going to happen. That's something I can guarantee. You're going to have an emergency, and I can also guarantee after watching this, you're going to be ready for it. Okay. A couple more things with this conclusion. Um, Start small. I talk about the 3 to 6 months. Set a plan for yourself. That's where those goals come in, and being consistent. I talk about big numbers, $10,000, 15,000. Anthony, I could never say something like that. Yeah, you can. Stop talking yourself out of it. You can do it, but you got to start small. I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's $50. Out of sight, out of mind. Set up that direct deposit, split it, and put that money into savings because you know your budget, and just let that grow. Just let it grow so you can get there. You'll be able to build that cushion. Um, when it rains, it pours. You know, that emergency fund is that umbrella. You ever been out and you didn't look at the weather, and the weather is letting you know there's going to be an emergency, and that emergency is rain, and either you don't buy an umbrella, which is your emergency fund, or you don't have one, or you forgot to bring it. So that's an emergency fund. It's raining, it's pouring, and you're out there in your nice blouse and you know nice shirt and suit and nice outfit, and your hair is done, and you're getting rained on because you didn't have that umbrella. You didn't have that emergency fund. So let's go ahead and build that umbrella for you. Okay. Last thing is, this is a journey. It's a financial journey, and everybody's on different levels. That's why I said, you know, write things down, get an action plan, figure out your budget. Some people are making 120,000. Some people are making 30,000. Just focus on you. Focus on your budget. Focus on your plan. Take small steps to prepare you for the unexpected. And I'll end with this. And I always say this to myself: do something today that your future self will thank you for. I actually should have went this way. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. Okay? Remember that. Thank you for watching. I hope that this was helpful. And always remember to follow your dreams.